let's start the show. You guys let's start with recruiting since my guy Tyrone is already in the chat. I appreciate you, Tyrone, and your patience. Any word on Keon Keeley? No word is a bad word, I would say. I would lean Keon towards Bama. I don't see that changing.
Joe, I don't want to be quoted here, but I thought I heard that he was announcing at one of the All-Star game that he's playing at. I think it's San Antonio. I think it's the
Under Armour, yeah.
Under Armour, probably. Yeah. I think I heard he was announcing there.
Okay.
But yeah, I've heard also that he's a heavy Bama probable.
Yeah. I think I really want us to get 2 out of these 3 2023 DNs, but I think Damon Wilson is a strong probability. Mateo, I don't know. I wonder what DJU is going to do, and if their dad wants them both at the same school. DJ's in the transfer portal, but
right, and where does that, and who's in the market for that, and what are his top schools? What are his top schools being ruled out? Because USC is not a school, not an option. But Caleb Williams has 2 years
for DJU, yeah, but
yeah.
But
so I mean, if
Mateo
the
just
dad's
announced
them together.
Mateo just announced his top 3, and USC is one of them. USC, Oregon, and Ohio State.
That's why I mentioned that.
So I don't see Ohio State bringing in DJ.
No.
I would not accept that.
No. Staunchly against that.
But doesn't Oregon still have Bo Nix for another year? So
does that matter? I don't know.
To me, it doesn't. No, I don't give a fuck about him.
But Oregon, they're in a position. Oregon's kind of in that position where they would take on whatever the issue would be with the quarterback to land the top recruit because they want another Kayvon Thibodeau. Oregon's in a place where they would take more of those gambles. Ohio State should not, and I don't believe they would get into bringing DJU over and mixing them in with our 2 guys. We have 2 5-stars.
Well, that's the thing is most high end.
There's a lot of tape
in
on
the
DJU
portal right now are going to want to guarantee that they're the starter.
Oh, exactly, and of course
we're not going to get that.
No, of course not.
Oh, no, this is an open competition. You're welcome to join it, or you can go somewhere else.
Which is why I thought they would be in the transfer portal for a quarterback, but a quarterback along the lines of a Chuganov or something like that.
I don't think that low level, but I think
a guy that's going to come in and maybe compete, but it's going to stay for depth. He's not just. Yeah. So I know you were probably going to get to the portal here in a little bit, but what about the rumors of Larry Johnson stepping down? Is that going to how big is that going to sway any of these DNs? How good?
Yeah, you got to wonder if this topic has been even broached with recruits, because it's a pretty big matzo ball you're putting out there if you're telling 18-year-old kids that Larry Johnson is retiring.
Yeah, if he was the main reason if he was the main reason you were attached to Ohio State, because these guys aren't from around here, or I'm from around, Ohio. If they were mostly tied to Larry, well then, that's going to be some big news, and there better be another option there.
Well, regardless, that is some big shoes to fill. You're talking about an absolute legend.
Yeah,
that's going to go away. Now, I don't think that means necessarily that, the next guy isn't going to have great success. If we can keep the recruiting up and that, but geez, that guy has there ever been a better D-line coach? Like
nobody's done it as long as he has. That's for sure.
No, not at the length where he's done that. Where it hasn't been.
That's what she said.
Yeah, but but if we're talking about his replacement as being his former GA,
Mhm.
Does he have any
Yeah.
type of relationship with any of these kids?
Yeah. So if you guys didn't listen to the Daily Blitz from yesterday, I don't know. I forget. The days are just blurring together. So if you haven't heard the Daily Blitz, first of all, what are you doing? Secondly, please go subscribe and listen to that episode. So Randall Joyner, former GA for Larry Johnson, as recently as 2016 to 2018, is the likely heir apparent to the D line. And Larry Johnson was supposed to retire after last year. Day was able to keep him on for one more year. They wanted to start a transition. Okay, transition Larry out. So has that transition taken place? We haven't seen it on the field because Larry's still all involved and in practice. And so there's no transition. But I will say this, Randall Joyner is one of the big upcoming names in D-line coaching and recruiting. He is, please go back and listen to the episode from yesterday. He's pretty young, which is a good thing in recruiting, I believe. He was with Hawaii in 2015, Ohio State, 2016 to 2018, SMU in 2018 to 2021, and Ole Miss. Just this last year, he moved over to Ole Miss. But when he was at SMU in 2019, he had them ranked number 1 in all of college football in sacks per game and top 3 in TFLs. SMU. Yeah.
He was the head D-line coach.
He's a D-line coach, yes.
In that position. Okay. My only question, we talk about the talk of having this year to transition. Well, if we're talking about the replacement is at SMU, you can't have any type of transition when the replacement is not there to help the transition.
Right.
Does that make sense? Like,
yeah,
you can't. Why are they telling us that we're going to transition this year?
Well, that was the
that
plan.
Means, like, you need to have a guy come in to like transition in and out.
That
like,
was we don't even plan.
know. What if the guy doesn't take the job? He's not here yet.
Right. That was the plan.
What are we doing?
But obviously they didn't bring in anybody. Al Washington left. I believe the transition was going to be to Al Washington. They wanted Al Washington to move down off the linebackers and help Larry Johnson with the D line. Obviously.
Oh, okay.
Al took off and went to Notre Dame.
Sure.
And so that's why there's no transition. But again, you're to your point, you cannot bring in a true D-line coach for a transitional year. Doesn't matter if he's under Jesus Christ. So I don't see any coach doing that ever, especially somebody that's quickly established himself like Randall Joyner. So anyways, I don't want to spend too long on that. That's happening. Don't be surprised if that happens after the playoffs. And we appreciate Larry. He served many of us, many young men well, cranked out so many first-round draft picks, and did a lot for Ohio State University.
And I think he taught them how to be like good men and good people too. Like like a genuinely good dude that tried to teach young kids to be the right way.
Yeah, he was a father figure to pretty much everybody in his room.
And that, go back decades. He put pros from Penn State, in the NFL. A lot of pros from Penn State.
Good. Yeah, studs.
Yeah. And obviously recruiting was the key to bringing in those studs like Chase Young. The Bosa's were kind of a given. But anyways, let's talk Keenan Bailey.
Joey was here before he got here. But anyways, go on, Joe. Go ahead.
That was an Urban Meyer get. So let's talk Keenan Bailey quickly. I don't want to spend too much time on coaching changes. So Keenan Bailey, Coach Key, as I call him, is finally getting his promotion. He's been kept around the staff and the team for 7 years. He's moved around a lot. look at this, what this guy has done. He has worked with the quarterbacks. He has learned route running from Brian Hartline. So he spent time with the receivers. He has worked with the O-line staff. He has worked special teams. He helped Cade Stover improve his pass catching over this summer. And we saw that to some degree improve with Cade, right? This season. So this guy has done like a lot of things, obviously offensive side of the ball. He's done just about everything you can think of. He's a grinder, and they've been in this, Ryan Day has been inventing new titles to keep him around until they could find a full-time spot. And now with Kevin Wilson taking that Tulsa head coaching job, which you knew he was going to take a head coaching job at some point, right? This opens the door perfectly for Keenan Bailey. He's turned down a lot of Power 5 assistant jobs and lower level coordinator opportunities and stuff. So this is big, and he's huge with the recruits. He is the guy that they all come to visit when they're on campus. He's from South Florida, so he knows those crazy people, and he gets huge love from the South Florida kids like Carnell Tate, even Johnny Dixon. So this is a big deal. Sean, you got any takes on Coach Key?
I don't. I'll defer to your expertise on the matter, but it sounds good. So let me see it. I'm just wondering, with some of these coaching changes and things like that, maybe you said and I missed it. Do you see any distraction with when this type of stuff comes up for the bowl games, for the playoff games, rather?
Yeah.
With Coach Wilson and is he still going to be running it? Is his head going to be in it? What's the deal there?
Yeah, he said he's staying on for the playoffs, but that he's in the middle of collecting a staff. So his time is split. Zach Smith has talked about this before, where Tom Herman got the Texas job before they were done with the playoffs. I don't remember what year that was. It's Houston. Tom Herman went to Houston first before Texas.
It was the 14th season.
Yeah, exactly. So during bowl prep, Tom Herman is taking time out of his day to assemble a staff and then also work on game planning. So the game planning, a lot of it had to fall to Zach Smith, the wide receivers coach. And I believe Alfred was on the staff at that point too. So other people had to pick up the slack. Zach Smith also talked about, when he was at Florida, and he was the GA for Urban. That was Dan Mullen taking a job. I think Dan Mullen was the OC or something, and he was the OC, and he had just accepted a job. Was that the Mississippi State job?
Yeah, would have been.
Yeah, so he was assembling a staff. So Zach Smith and Tim Tebow worked on just third down game planning in bowl prep. So I don't know if that was 06, 07. I don't remember what years. So that ballpark when Tebow was there. So anyways, yeah, it does, to your point or to your question, Sean, it definitely affects the workload for everybody else because.
But at the same time, Joe, remember this: Ryan Day is the primary offensive controller,
play caller. Yeah.
So I mean, him and Hartline,
right?
I'm sure this. I think and Tony, I think just having, and even Dennis.
And don't forget about Justin Fry.
So it's one less high-ranking voice. So more of these other smart people can maybe get more out of it. So I don't. Yeah, I think it can be because of the guys we have on that staff. We just named them.
Yeah,
I think it can only be a good thing just to hear more of them. Not to besmirch Coach Wilson at all.
Yeah.
It's just a different one less voice that's getting,
Yeah.
Hopefully
What do you
can
guys,
lead to-
Sean, what do you think? You think Day brings in another OC or does he promote from within possibly? I mean, he seems like Ohio State is big on promoting from within. Look at Parker Fleming, like we just talked about with Keenan Bailey.
I mean, you heard
Heartline.
you heard the stuff around Heartline, and does he eventually go, and what he's passing game coordinator. I maybe you put Heartline as an offensive coordinator, but usually those OCs are kind of focused on a position. Keep him up with the focus on receivers, but make him an OC maybe. I mean, I don't know if that's what he aspires to or whatnot, but
yeah. Well, we know he's interviewed for OC jobs, even though he has no running game experience. So,
but
I don't know.
Heartline's going to be a winner.
Oh yeah.
Joe, I think it would just be the natural choice to move Heartline up to that OC spot, give him another pay raise. I'm sure that position would allow that.
And I think you probably lock him in for 2 to 3 years because he's going to cut his chops as an OC, and then he'll go on to that premier.
Right, and whether there was rumors about him, interviewing with Cincinnati for the head coaching job. So obviously
he did interview. That's not a question.
Yeah. Okay. So then he's motivated to look for the head coaching job. I think he would gladly take the offensive coordinator title. I'm sure he wants to be more and more involved in that offense. That maybe he wasn't being able to be as loud in the room because of Coach Wilson. I don't know. But I think it's just natural to hire him and keep him, because if you don't, you're going to lose him sooner than later. It might even be this year still,
Yeah. Okay.
So, I mean, people are going to come calling for him. There's a lot of positions, at least for OCs and head coaches, still around.
Read it out. Heartline for OC.
I think it's natural. I mean, I don't know.
You could flip that also. A lot of people want to work for Ryan Day, especially on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, I guess selfishly, I don't want to lose Heartline, so I would want him.
Course,
I would want them to promote him. But
Day, is intimately involved, and I think that could be good for both of them, because it'll be successful. It's Ohio State, and Heartline will now be the OC of a team that scores 40 points a game, and
looks good.
Yeah, he'll be the next fucking Cliff Kingsbury. We
gotta address this one. So Tyrone, thank you for the message. He says, do you still see Travian Henderson transferring? So I just went to Travion's Twitter page, and suddenly he has a photo of himself back in an Ohio State jersey, and he pinned a tweet of him in Ohio State photos and videos. And his message on his Twitter bio is, my mother worked too hard for me not to be great. So this is a much different.
He got paid.
Yeah.
That check cleared.
So I would say, yes, Travion will be back now. I think a week ago, he was out the door. Now, question is, will he?
Rumors? How close were those rumors, though? Are those just rumors? Because I think
because emotional 19-year-old kid, that just lost to Michigan twice in a row.
I understand being emotional and erasing your shit off your social media, but that doesn't mean you're leaving the school. You can just be mad.
He's a starting running back at Ohio State.
I think so you're not. He's 19, 20-year-olds do a lot of irrational shit, right? Yeah. We all did. So I think we put too much into all their every movement. They're going to be knuckleheads. They all are. The kids are crazy these days.
Right. That's why I said it was.
I'm raising
emotional.
Teenagers.
That's why I said he was emotional, and I was concerned because
I don't know how serious that was of transferring though. Maybe he was just emotional and pissed, and he did something pissed off. I would hate, because I think by people manifesting maybe Trayvion's leaving, he's transferring, that could almost turn him to want to if he wasn't wanting to in the first place.
I understand.
You know,
So
it could
I
have
think
been.
there's a lot
It
of
could have
negatives
been as
also.
stupid as it could have been as stupid as he lost a bet. It's like, hey, if we beat you this year,
Yeah.
you got to take down all your Ohio State shit.
Yeah, right, exactly. And we're all like, he's transferring. He hates it here. He's fed up with our offense. But then all these stories will spin off.
I will say, Bobby Carpenter said he doesn't think Travion will play in playoffs.
What?
And I don't know if that's due to health, because Travion did tweet. He replied to some tweets that said he had a broken bone in his foot and some ligament issues.
Yeah, I'm sure he did.
But
it looked like he did. I believe that.
So,
but when you don't know that for the whole season, you're like, well, why does he look like he's running half speed? Is he injured, or is he not back from injury? What is it?
Right.
We know it now, but if they just kind of let us know that kind of stuff just on a general update through the season, you don't have a whole section of people that follow and care about this team that get over, get overhyped on news because they're trying to imagine what's going on because they don't know.
Yeah. So to answer Tyrone's question, you guys think he's not transferring?
No.
Okay.
I don't know enough.
I don't. I mean, I have no idea though. But no,
nobody does. I mean, come on.
I guess I'm going to go on the logic, kind of what me and Sean were just kind of spitting out.
Joe, I mean, I'm just trying to make my observation on the fly. You're telling me this about what Carpenter's saying, and I'm not on the socials to see that stuff. So, I mean, I don't know. It all just seems so fucking weird to me. And maybe I'm just the old guy, get off my lawn. But what?
Well, I have nothing else to do, so I just look at 18 and 19-year-old people's Twitter accounts. Just kidding. That's only half my day.
It is some odd shit. So I mean, it's stuff that's worth paying, worth monitoring. But I don't want to be the a part of it that adds more attention to it than it should get. And I guess I'm just saying there could be a lot of minor things. For the reason why the one thing we saw was him taking down all his Ohio State stuff in his bios.
I mean,
that could be a million different things. We shouldn't automatically think he's transferring.
From what we saw, not necessarily this year, but last year, to me, in my mind, and maybe it's only in my mind, if Travian Henderson is healthy and looks like he did as a freshman, he is Ohio State's starting running back, period. He's the best one, and it's not close. Okay. So I don't know why a kid like that would leave. Unless there's other money out there.
Exactly. That the NIL is that
money
third wheel that you have to factor into now in every situation when you're talking about players. You got to keep NIL in mind. Dudes are jumping in the portal like the starting guard. Hold on, Jeff. The starting guard for Alabama is in the portal. He started 2 years. He jumped in the portal because the guy behind him in the depth chart is getting paid more in NIL money. So this guy is trying to leverage his position to get a bigger deal, or he will jump, to another better offer potentially. So you got to keep this in mind when we're talking about guys transferring. NIL money is going to change a lot of minds quickly. Recruiting, transfer portal, doesn't matter. The NIL money, if it's enough, and that's really the focus of tonight's show, which we should probably get into. But I will say the last thing on Travion, I don't think he's transferring now. I think he was definitely open to it a week ago. And the one thing when you're talking about recruiting, the thing you always say or you always follow is watch what they do. Don't listen to what they say. Watch what they do. Okay. Kids will say a lot of shit, but watch what they do. So And I feel the same with this Travion situation. But just my opinion. I think we're all pretty much in line that he's coming back until we hear differently, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's talk NIL. Let's talk more bad news. Fudge. I hate to be the old guy. I hate to be that guy, but this shit just wears me out at times. Okay, so this is what these are like the subtopics we're going to talk about. First of all, Zach Smith on his podcast early last week talked about NIL issues and how Ohio State is falling behind, mostly SEC schools, but also Miami in there. They're disorganized. They don't have the money they need, and they don't have the staff, all this stuff. Okay. But Gene Smith just this week, almost, it was like a day after Zach Smith's podcast, might not be related at all, but very coincidental that Gene Smith released an announcement that shows Ohio State is now in an open partnership with these collectives. I will read you his statement. Sean, would you like that?
Please, yes. Inform me.
Just for you. Nobody else listen. Okay.
I'm still here too, also.
What's that?
I'm still here too.
Oh, okay. Well, you can listen, I guess.
I don't know about anybody else at this point, but I'm still
Probably
here.
not. All right. So statement from Gene Smith. There's never been a more exciting time to be a fan of the Ohio State Buckeyes. Excellence within our programs and remarkable experiences for our student athletes will always be the standard at Ohio State while competing for championships, academic excellence, and graduating and preparing for life after sports are our goals. Bit of a run-on sentence there, Gene. I want to tighten that up. Paragraph 2, recent guidance updates from the NCAA clarified how schools can be involved with name, image, and likeness activities of student athletes. Many of our Buckeyes are taking advantage of this, and we are committed to supporting our current and future student athletes while building strong, competitive programs. Paragraph 3, we welcome our help in keeping Ohio State at the top of the college athletics landscape. This is the key paragraph, in my opinion. We welcome your help in keeping Ohio State at the top of the college athletics landscape. 3, collective, quote unquote, whatever that means, organizations that are helping our Buckeyes maximize NIL opportunities are in operation now and seeking additional support. They need money. We aren't going to give it to them as a university. They are Cohesion, a proud sponsor of Ohio State Athletics, and their website is cohesionfoundation.com, the Foundation, thefoundationohio.com, and the O Foundation, the-o-foundation.org. Could you find a harder domain name? Jesus. And thank you for your support, blah, blah, blah. So, Sean, how does that hit you?
So now the rule is that, like before, I thought it was, hey, private businesses can do whatever the fuck they want, paying your players. But now kind of there's going to be some universities promoting NIL things for the kids and kind of showing them what's out there. I don't know why we're falling behind. I mean, Buckeye Nation is among the biggest on the planet, and yeah, hopefully we get that figured out. But you said falling behind, and you said falling behind most. That's just the SEC?
Mostly, but I want to focus on Gene Smith's release there, both you guys. How does that land? Does it bother you that obviously it does bother you that we're falling behind? I know that's obvious, but does it bother you that Gene Smith, the athletic director for one of the largest athletic departments in the country, I think we're just behind Stanford, is again asking the fans for money.
No, I think that's the day we live in, and that's the new deal. And to compete with, to me, some of these big time things, and you've got, talk about the fanatics. You've got super wealthy people, especially in some of them southern states, that are willing to blow tens of millions of dollars on their favorite football team. And so you're going to have to keep up with some of this oil money. There's a few big time guys that could do that for Ohio State, but I think Ohio State's stronger as the volume of us. And if you can get these collectives together and things like that, I think it's a winning strategy for us. I don't necessarily we can compete on some of that big money level, but on the sheer volume, I think we can.
Okay. Yeah, I understand your point. So as a fan base, you're saying that we can gather, $10
I'm not even saying to even go to these collectives or whatever. I mean, it'd be cool as shit. If this thing grew and or a couple grand, if this thing ever started making money, and the Buckeye Cast NIL deal, and, just be creative with your fandom. I'm not necessarily
right.
Yeah, it just needs to be more creative minds and shit like that.
Well, the restriction has always been that, like, donors give to the athletic department, and the athletic department siphons the funds to each department below that they see fit. So they can't take booster donations and funnel them to the collectives. The collectives are where the players get their money from, whatever endorsements and stuff like that, right? So it's not like we can give money to the school anymore and be sure that goes to football. I mean, you never could, honestly. So,
well, that's a little scary, isn't it? Because I mean, basically, your athletic department's going to become fucking null and void. It's going to be the product of NIL and what sports and what things are getting the money.
And boosters don't like giving to NIL. Most of them are old school, and they don't agree with NIL just on the foundation alone. So they
want to pay a player. They want to pay a player.
They like having their name on a building that they can see and is not going to transfer out in 6 months.
Get caught for beating up a woman or something.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's a risky investment to invest in these NIL collectives, right? I mean, we haven't seen any numbers yet, and it's going to take a few years at least, to see any type of ROI on any of these. It's really just throwing money into the wind and seeing what sticks, and hope that it helps your team. Go.
I think that's why maybe a lot of these smart, big name boosters, like you said, that like to have their name out there and have this, really good image. They're probably the smart ones that are laying off and waiting for this bubble, to burst. Because it's not going to last the way it's going. What really needs to happen, they got to collectively bargain a deal right now. Right now, there is unregulated free agency. And think of any professional league where players are getting paid that the free agency is whenever they want. You know what I mean? And it's uncontrollable. They have to. If the schools, like Sean said, with the athletic departments are going to be almost null and void, because the NILs, if they're allowed to grow and end up growing against boosters' wishes, which is unlikely. But yeah, the athletic department will no longer have control over any of the funds, because they'll be losing any donations that were going to them. It's going to be going to NILs.
Right.
What you're talking, the colleges, if they're willing to let complete control, let it all go, then yeah, they're just going to get to that point. I can't imagine them doing that. So they're going to have to unionize these kids, make them all get paid, and then
Right. That's
when
part of this.
when your eligibility is done, then you're out of the union. And it's a whatever transition after that, and that's
Right.
it. And then you just recycle them through every 3, 4, 5 years, however.
Yeah. Let me run through this, the bullet points from this interview with Brian Schottenstein on the Twitter Spaces the other day with Jay Book. So let me run through these notes that I took, and we'll circle back to your point, because there's definitely something there as far as collective bargaining and stuff. So anyways, this was from Thursday afternoon anyway. So Coach Day, before last year, said we need 13 million per year to maintain and bring in new players on the roster. As of right now, from all the collectives, they have just over $3 million. That's a big difference. That doesn't even compete with what other teams are doing, which we don't really know the particulars. You hear a lot of rumors, but anyways, so Brian Schottenstein said, consider that half the money of that 3 mil goes to current players, half goes to incoming players. Okay. Also, major red flag for me, Brian Schottenstein is doing this on his own. He has board members, but he does not have a staff. There's no infrastructure like a normal charity or a business. If you think of Red Cross, they have staff, they pay people to do their jobs, whether it's marketing, communications, whatever it might be. He has none of that, zero. So huge red flag, because I gave money back in June and I haven't heard a follow-up since, like not an email, a letter, nothing. I got an email receipt when I gave, but nothing to keep you interacted. I work in marketing. I'm a marketing consultant. Communication is like 101, marketing 101. Sean, you know this. You're a marketing guy, right?
Allegedly.
At
one point. But
well, Joe, even as owning a small business as I do, and I know very little at a base level, that's the first thing. If you don't communicate, you lose them. That's like It's the very basics of everything. It's communication.
Right. So on the flip side, Florida's group, Tennessee's, I think theirs is called Spire, Miami, they all have full-time staffs committed. Like they have CEOs, like actually the Florida's collective is run by a former Ohio State compliance guy. I forget his name, doesn't matter, but he's the CEO of the Florida collective. All right. He has a staff, like a full-time staff, not interns, not people that are volunteering, full-time staffs, and Tennessee and Miami, they all have this shit. And they do all the marketing, all the communication, and it's structured like a normal charity or a business, right? Like, for example, they all have subscription models where you can give $10 a month. All right. It's one of those set it and forget it, kind of things, like with your streaming services, on TV. Ohio State, the foundation just launched that this week in a response to this uproar by the fan base at Ohio State. They just launched that as an option. This is what we're dealing with, guys. That's the gist of the Brian Schottenstein interview, and it's kind of embarrassing, almost. I want to say. What are your takes?
I don't really just fault him. Maybe for having the idea, but maybe being a little short-sighted in the plan. But he's doing what he's doing something.
he has a full-time job too. Like
nobody
he
else.
might be a billionaire, but he still has a job like in the family
Right.
business that he can't just, take unlimited time to organize shit by himself.
Right. So I mean, like he's doing something. There's a lot of people not doing shit with the capabilities of doing it. You know what I mean? So I think for anybody to sit and judge a dude, to judge him or judge the overall performance of it. Well, if you have the means, do it and do it better. If you're going to talk shit about somebody else's performance, but if you don't have the means, then you just sit on a podcast like we are.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's all sucks to me. It all sucks that the school makes all this money and we're still playing under this rule that the school can't just give the money straight to the kids, because this is where it needs to be. If they want to have any control ever, they need to just control the flow of the money.
Well,
Have it all go through them.
it's
the only way it'll get under control.
I don't
it's
see
dumb
some
shit.
limits, salary caps or something like that. But it could get so
collectively bargained. Yes, you're gonna knock down the transfer, all that transfer bullshit. Everything's gonna get back to like a normal process.
What if you got some
every 3 years,
guy's got $50 billion, and he tells the top, 20 recruits in the country, hey, I'm going to give you all $10 million. Come, they're all going to do it.
Yeah.
Right.
So there's right now. I mean, but not on that level. But I mean,
no,
like the top 50 kids in the country, and to sign 50 kids and desecrate your. There's a coach out there that would do that if there was a millionaire or a billionaire that would pay that. And he would get the kids. Now, there's nothing stopping that. I mean, that's category
His name's
5.
Jimbo Fisher.
He's got ranches already.
Didn't work out so well for him. That's one of the other issues is that most of these NIL collectives have a base salary for all recruits coming in, for everybody on the roster. Ohio State does not. They can't say you're going to make $20K your freshman year, no matter if you take one snap or 100.
Joe, a question, just a question. I really have no basis for this. How many schools do you think would say 20K would be the baseline for all recruits coming in? How many schools do you think are actually executing that plan?
That's a bare minimum for most of these high rollers.
Well, and
most of them are actually more than that. Like Miami, I believe, is 50 or 60. But Auburn's putting together a hell of a war chest. They're trying to pull 2 of our guys right now. Exactly, war money, Eagle money. So like this a 20K is not much in the grand scheme of things. But I do have. Let me read these comments.
20K times 28. Yeah, okay. I mean, but you're on average. But then you're obviously paying the top recruits
I just want to stay competitive.
Well, hold on. What's competitive?
Well, I don't know, and it's probably ever.
We're getting recruits plucked, Sean, because of NIL money directly.
Mark Fletcher, directly.
Then I feel like maybe we should be able to pluck some recruits with NIL money. We kind of did with Ewers, right?
We got to have it. That was a deal he made on his own. That was not involving Ohio State whatsoever or any of its collectives.
Yeah, that was Ewers had lawyers and contracts when he came to Ohio State. That's why that was such a mess. That was such a business transaction. I can't believe. Yeah. I still wonder why Ryan Day allowed the circus of it, because he had to have seen that coming. Not looking back at it, anyways. But there's got to be a solution to this. You can't just have unregulated, just free agency here. But these fucking kids are just wilding out.
Well, you kind of do.
Lawyers.
You can. Because we're living. I got a bunch of comments I need to catch up on regarding this topic. Okay, so Treasure the Torah has a bunch of comments here. The irony is Ohio State actually has the money, but the collectives are independent and the money cannot be given to the NIL collective from the university director. Yes, we established that. This is a very real situation though, but this situation can be corrected easily if there is infighting going amongst between the university and NIL collective. Infighting is probably the last thing we want. I will say this though, if Ohio State does not fix this, and within the next year, they will definitely fall from the top of the mountain. I agree 100%. Everyone is waiting for regulation and some sort of rules to be put into control of this, but I promise you that that is not going to happen. Nothing will be controlled or regulated. I agree 100% there. There are other things going on as far as money disbursement, not only to the players, but to the powers that be, and that's why nothing will be regulated. Okay. Interesting. Good point of view. I agree with much of that. What do you guys have a quick take on that? Any of that? All of that?
I do, Joe. I sorry, Sean.
No,
I think it goes right back to my point that yeah, a lot of that will not change unless there needs to be, some type of CBA between these students and these schools. I think it all just circles right back to the same thing. The only way they're ever going to be able to regulate anything anymore. These universities like control they won't have control of anything outside of academics, and a lot of their money comes from athletics, and they're going to lose all of that money. They're not going to lose that money. They're going to make sure they hold on to that money getting funneled to them, and not just some outside businesses that own all their facilities.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking about like a total complete change of the landscape if that were to happen. Where companies just owned all the buildings on campus outside of the classrooms.
Yeah.
I mean,
so
worst case scenario, you think? I mean, think if this keeps going at this rate, we could be there in 20 years.
Well, this is what I think. Compliance department has always been a roadblock for anything close to players getting.
They still have those? They still make those?
Oh yeah. This is a problem across the landscape of college football, but I think
where's the NCAA been? Where have they been? What are they doing?
They don't exist, man.
They've allowed. I mean, that's what I'm saying. They've allowed all this to happen, and now it's
and these collectives are following rules that are just made up by the chance that they might get busted. And that's where the compliance department comes in and says you need to follow these made up rules, whenever the NCAA comes out with them, or else, you could put us at risk. Probably not. You can't imagine, I don't want to get into that, but I think Ohio State is holding out for revenue sharing between the university and the players because of this monster TV contract, $100 million per school. It's either going to be schools or conferences offering base salaries, whatever it might be. If it's a 20K, 50, it might be more in the Big Ten versus the ACC, could be more in the SEC versus the Big Ten. I think that is where we're headed, and I think it's coming sooner than later.
And obviously, Gene Smith is a real powerful dude in this industry, and I'm sure his voice carries some weight with the powers that be. They can wait on that, but they're a big enough institution and powerhouse that they can make waves. But if nobody from the South is willing to stand on board and say, yeah, let's go for this, because they're all doing it the other way. And if they're getting boosters to then just pay for kids instead of NIL, or the NIL collectives get so big that they're paying them, the coaches don't give a shit down there. And the athletic directors, Greg Sankey and all of them, I don't think they give a shit either. They're doing it by the way they want, because they've already null and voided the NCAA with everything. So until one of them gets on board with a school like Ohio State that says, yeah, let's push for this revenue sharing. Let's make this money and let's share it with the kids because that's the way they can control it. They're going to lose all control if they let this go on the way it is. But you need the South to come on board. Will they?
Yeah, we're just guessing here. It's hard to tell. I think though every conference is going to have to, at least in the Power Five, Group of Five, maybe not so much, but I think all the Power Five are going to have to get on board with some type of.
Who brings everybody together?
Sharing.
Who gets everybody? Who can get everybody on board together?
TV networks.
We're gonna let ESPN control everything.
They've been controlling it. CBS,
I know.
NBC,
yes.
ABC, all these guys. Now that we're out of ESPN, that opens the door for others to have power.
Yeah, you're right. But I mean, that's the only way it gets fixed, man. It's like a form of revenue sharing, which and then it's going to lead to collective bargaining. That revenue sharing. What's the percentage? What's the agreement?
I don't know.
There will be lawyers, as I once heard on Twitter.
What do you think, Sean?
Yes, there will. But I think they've kind of jumped the shark. I mean, grasp onto it while we can, but I don't think college football looks anything like what we're dealing with now in 5-10 years.
It's an NFL light, right?
Yeah. Once the money got to a certain point, it just, it's kind of like the whole plugging holes in the dam. It's coming. That water's coming. So there's so much money in college football at the number 2 sport in America. It's just when everybody starts making this money and the kids aren't making any, you just knew it was a matter of time before, like, hey, we're the ones that people want to see, but everyone else is making the money. So,
and players have the power now with the transfer portal and everything.
If the universities want to gain any power back, you've got to go to revenue sharing. I'm 100% on board with that. I don't know. I'm kind of strong on that fact. You let this open. That's the way it is now. You got to do it, or you're going to lose all control.
Yeah.
And then I think college football spirals, because I think the walls just start coming down with eligibility and dudes skipping school, going straight to pros, semi-pro leagues, or who knows? Like basketball,
Yeah.
Kid doesn't have to go to college. He can go to 2 or 3 other places and play for a year and then go to pros. It could get into. So universities got to get on board with that revenue sharing. I think that can help regulate everything too. If you're collective bargaining, you can collectively bargain that people can't come poach your kids.
Yeah, you can sign your kids to a 2-year contract.
Yeah,
and you can bring the collectives in under the athletic department arm.
Yeah. So
you have control, and you can funnel all the money to the collective wing of your athletic department, as you want.
I would love to see Ohio State at the forefront of that, moving towards something like that and making like a total permanent change, with this big rush of this NIL thing over the last couple of years and the transfer portal all kind of hitting at once. If Ohio State was one of like the steadying forces to get that back and get a deal that makes the kids happy, and the universities are still making the money that they need, I think that that could be just another feather in the cap or whatever to Ohio State.
Yeah. Tyrone has a couple things here I wanted to address. He said he's asking about the rumor that Dallin Hayden is going back home to Tennessee. He said they're ready to offer him a lot of money. Yeah, I've heard that.
Who's gonna offer him money?
Tennessee.
There's people in Tennessee paying, man. There is money to be made, and they're advertising that they're paying money. Like they're calling people.
Again, they're established. They are organized, and they're bringing in big cash. So
they've always been organized, bringing in cash.
now they don't have to put it in McDonald's bags.
Right. They're like, oh shit, we can do this legally. Oh, well, we can set it up like a business.
Yeah.
But what is to say? What are these collectives going to look like in 5 years? After somebody in that organization might get a little greedy. They might say, "Hey, I want to start. We're moving a lot of money here. Hey, let me just. I'm gonna cut some here. I'm gonna funnel some here, launder some here, whatever."
Well, then you get the gambling involved when you're giving a kid this much money. Hey, shape points here. I mean, just this
eventually with these
fucking and you're
the
dealing
collectives
with
are not the answer. That's what I'm getting at. Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. The collectives,
there's
gonna be a lot of money around.
Yeah,
the university's got to take back control and regulate.
And now gambling's more acceptable in every state and being legalized. So
the state laws are all different. So
right.
what the state of Alabama says and the state of Texas says, so you can't. That's why you have to have if the state says no, we can pay our kids here. We can't pay our kids here. We can pay our kids here.
Well, that's an NIL problem to a smaller degree, where every state's different. That's why Quinn Ewers went to Ohio State and not Texas, because he couldn't make money until he was a certain age from NIL. So, I think it's pretty much evened out across the country. There may be a few straggling states that are behind the times as far as NIL. But for the most part, I mean, especially the Power Five, I think
they caught them quick, man. It's amazing how fast you can get a law passed.
Yeah,
when you really need to. Yeah, it's amazing how fast they can get some shit through, but they could fight for 40 years about gay marriage or legalizing pot.
Yeah,
but exactly. you can get that shit, the NIL shit, figured out in the next quarter.
So this December calendar is totally fucked up. You got the transfer window just opened. You got early signing period ending next week. Then you got the next signing period ending in February. And then you just add some NIL to the mix and you got yourself a shit sandwich. From what I hear,
they got to readjust the calendar.
What's that, Sean?
No, I didn't say anything.
Yeah. From what I hear, this is really wearing on college football coaches, not just head coaches, but there's concern that all these changes at one time every year around the year are driving some good coaches to the NFL or just out of the business entirely. I think
we made the point a couple of years ago. It's like the NCAA doesn't do shit for years and they just sit on their bullshit, pimping everybody ways. And then along comes transfer portals and NIL and all this stuff and playoffs. And it's like, now it's I don't know. Now it's freaking me out a bit. I always wanted to change, but they're changing everything at the same time. I think it's not manageable what they're doing, and it's gonna fucking end poorly.
Yeah. I think my concern is these big money boosters giving their money continuously to the athletic department and not being willing to give to the collectives. Older folks don't like change much. And then you talk about the transfer portal. They really don't like the transfer portal, What did you say, Jeff?
You get enough of them big boosters to get together. Hey, that's how you can make change. As far as that, get into the revenue sharing portion of it. I don't know what it would take. Will it take the collectives to see some fraud or something happening in the collectives to make them kind of start to dissolve and fade away over the next couple of years, or what does it take big boosters to kind of stand up and unite against the collectives, to then kind of dictate to the
it's
school
gonna get
how
weird.
they want the money.
You're gonna have
You got money coming two different ways.
Mhm.
Put it all one way. How do you funnel it back to just one stream?
but you're gonna have then again for X university, whatever university, that end up fucking getting charged with tax fraud and doing some dirty fucking shit. And now they're associated with and this and that. It's just, man, the web and the reach of this is gonna be fucking nuts.
Yeah. I think we'll see a lot of those investigative stories over the next 3 or 4 years. As we get a little bit of history and people can kind of, once we get this initial couple of years of rush, people, you can look back and at a couple of years and go back and find,
this
how these people
Cowboys.
dissolved. They just kind of faded away, and there was millions left somewhere unanswered for. There's gonna be all kinds of shit.
What's that?
We don't.
I just watched. It's a good documentary on Netflix about these guys in Florida, 80s, whatever. But they're funding like these super like boat racing things, and they don't have jobs. It's all this drug money coming in, and when's the first time that you're going to see down at the U, fucking Pablo Escobar, fucking this team's, they all got Rolls Royces, and it could get so nuts.
Yeah.
And dirty.
Well, it's been there. Now it's all legal nationwide. Yeah. No under the table deals necessary. Most cases, especially in some of the SEC schools, all the SEC schools, you don't even have to make an appearance or provide anything as a football player. You just get a paycheck.
Is it but it's going to be right for big businesses, I think, to wash money. Hey, I got him a car, it books out at 160 grand. I got it, I paid 120 for it. There you go, washed a little there, and so on and so forth.
Right. That's true. Yeah.
Still be pimping these kids.
Exactly. Till they get more power and somebody wants to, it's a nonstop power struggle, really.
And maybe some of these kids start burning some of these deal makers, some of these deals when they transfer or whatever, they just kind of, lose their number and just kind of dip off with the money. A couple people get crossed after giving up a couple $1 million. People don't like to lose $1 million,
right.
That can cause a whole nother thing. It's not going to last. It can't go on. It can't continue permanently at the rate it's going. That. I mean, how ridiculous would this be? It would surpass the NFL quickly. But so hopefully the schools can unite. Hopefully, we can get some kind of, just get a regulation, just so you sign your kids to your 2 years contracts. You renegotiate after, or an option for a third. Whatever, just like the pros do.
Yeah.
If these kids want, they're 3 years and out, because most of them coming in, they're like, my next 3 years I'm going to spend at the Ohio State University. They're not even saying 4 years no more. So you give them 2 years, option on the third if they want to go somewhere else for the final year to then dip.
Yeah.
Lay it all out. Pay them all.
Yeah, but then you got this side NIL deal, and your coach just kicks you off the team because you're doing stupid shit, and now all that work where your NIL deal is not with the school, and you sign this 2-year deal, and then you can't. I mean,
it's
like
almost
you said,
like
Jeff, there'll be lawyers involved.
There will be lawyers.
Yeah.
Lawyers
Imagine getting suspended.
Lawyers are
how
watching
about those Texas A&M freshmen that got suspended?
Yeah. Okay. So Joe,
you're not on the field. You're not helping my business and my return on investment. But is it really an investment if you're risking $1 million or whatever on an 18-year-old kid? Sounds like a terrible investment to me.
Yeah, I mean, if these people just have millions, they were smart enough to earn millions. Maybe they just inherited it, and it's like funny money to them. That's the only way I can explain that, because I'm not giving an 18-year-old $1 million. I don't give a fuck who that 18-year-old is. You're not getting $1 million.
Of
You
course.
got to show me something.
Yeah, but there are
Show
super
me something.
boosters. There are super
I gotta see.
boosters
I
that
gotta
will.
see at least. I gotta see a little something before we
Yeah.
get to that $1 million.
Sean's right.
mark.
There are boosters that will, and it's just a matter of having more of those to make your program successful. It seems that's kind of how it looks. I mean,
Well,
I don't know.
and a lot of
Imagine the
times,
kind of money you need to have to just say, I'm just gonna buy a high school kid. Here's $5 million. How much? I mean, just to not give a fuck, because you're like, we need this kid to play for
yeah,
us.
but
I'm
now
gonna-
you've got access. Not just that kid. Now you're
you have
know,
access. Yeah.
you-
Oh yeah,
you
you have
know, you're-
access. You're going to practice. You're watching practice.
You're doing what
talking
you
to
want.
coach. Yeah, you're talking to coach. You got a golf cart.
The
Yeah.
athletic director, is inviting you over for dinner,
And I guess maybe that, but you still gotta. I mean, you can't just be worth $50 million and spend $5 million like that. I can't imagine. You know what I mean? You gotta have money. But it
All
can't
right.
continue like it is. But Joe, we got anything else to talk about besides
No,
the money?
that's the end of the show. We've got other stuff we can talk about next week. We'll be back, and then like we talked about we'll do our pregame show on Tuesday the 27th. We're going to get our CEO from the Peach Bowl in next week, so the week before Christmas, hopefully. And
Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl.
Yes, thank you. He would be proud.
Hey, I heard Kirby Smart on ESPN. He did not say
Jeff.
Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl.
Yeah.
He just said Peach Bowl. He did not say Chick-fil-A. So Kirby Smart said it on ESPN. So I think we're okay if we miss it one time.
Yeah.
No,
All right.
you think Gary's happy about that shit? That's bullshit.
No, he'll tell Kirby. I'm sure they exchange texts and shit. So as always, we appreciate everybody joining us. Thank you for hitting us up in the chat. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And hit us up next Sunday night, 8 p.m. YouTube Live. As always, we will be here. Don't forget about your daily blitz every day, first thing in the morning. Mondays is always a recruiting update, so check that out and get your latest info. Early signing day is just a few days away, so check it out. And Jeff and Sean, appreciate you.
All right, get on with getting that NIL done.
You got it. All right, talk to you later, and